What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today, this is a very important video, okay? And I say that sometimes, but this is very important because of the current situation. And we have a lot of different things going on. If you're receiving Social Security benefits right now, some people they qualify under this elimination of weapon GPO. They're receiving these lump sum payments. They're also going to see a monthly increase. And that's good news. But the Trump administration, they are now going to be clawing back, effective March 27th, clawing back at 100%. And what that means is you have people who are being overpaid. Okay, let's say the Social Security Administration, they do calculations, the calculations are wrong. You don't catch it, they don't catch it. And then let's say a few years down the road, the Social Security Administration realizes they've been overpaying you. Guess what? They can call that money back at 100%. Now, the Biden administration, they changed it from 100% to 10%. Now, the Trump administration changed it back to 100%. And so we're going to talk about this. I'm going to show you a video clip. I'm also going to show you some of the different things that you can do to protect yourself from being, I'll call it a victim, because in a lot of cases, it's not your fault. It's actually the Social Security Administration that's making the mistake. Sure, you could, and let's say, it's a situation where you're working and you're earning money, and your documentation isn't accurate, or your documentation isn't up to date, and all that. That could be your fault, absolutely. But there are certain instances where it's not your fault. It's the Social Security Administration's fault, but you have to pay for it. And now we'll be at 100%. They could take your whole check. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about this. We're going to take a look at the headlines right now, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. And looking at some of the headlines here, it says, under Trump, Social Security resumes what it once called clawback cruelty. And CBS is reporting Social Security could take 100% of your benefit check if you're overpaid. Here's what to know. Then we also have an article here, Social Security resumes what it once called clawback cruelty. And we have Social Security moves to dial up clawback rates to 100%. Then Yahoo's reporting Trump administration reverses policy, allows full Social Security overpayment clawbacks. And then Forbes is reporting Social Security overpayments, 100% withholding may leave seniors broke.
The Social Security Administration said it is reinstating a plan to recover 100% of overpayments to beneficiaries. In a statement released late Friday, the administration said in part, quote, the Office of the Chief Actuary estimates this change will result in an increase in overpayment recoveries of about $7 billion in the next decade. The agency is already required by law to try to take back any money overpaid to recipients. For more on this, CBS Money Watch Associate Managing Editor Amy Peakey joins us now. Amy, how will the Social Security Administration recover this money, and will it be immediate?
Yeah, it'll be immediate starting after March 27th. So that's what Social Security recipients need to know. And how they'll recover it is they will take 100% of what has been overpaid directly out of the benefit check. So beneficiaries get a check every month. And if you owe, say you get $2,000 a month in your check, if you owe $4,000, they're going to take 100% of your checks. So they would take 2 months of your checks, of your benefits. This used to be the policy, and they changed it last year under the Biden administration to cap it at a 10% clawback rate. And the reason why was because there were all these cases of people who were getting their entire benefit check taken, and many of these people rely only on Social Security for their income, so they found themselves completely destitute. They had no money, and these are generally older people, of course, who didn't have money to pay rent, who to pay for food. Some people ended up homeless, and because of the outcry, they changed that policy to a 10% cap on the clawback. And now, last week on Friday, Social Security said they were reversing it and going back to the 100% rate. So if you owe a certain amount, they're going to take potentially all of that, your entire check, to get that money back.
So what would you say to people who are on Social Security so they can check to see if they've overpaid or not?
That's a great question. And this is one of the really tricky things about it, is that often people are overpaid and they're not aware of it. The problem is that it's an incredibly complex system. There are 20,000 pages of rules, and it has to do everything about how long you worked, if you're disabled, a lot of different issues there. If you have a spouse, if you're claiming as a spouse, all kinds of different things. When you claim, the age at which you claim. And so sometimes those calculations are done incorrectly, and you can be paid too much, but you might not know. People assume that the government is going to correctly calculate your benefit. the Social Security Administration found in a report last year that in many cases it is their fault why people are being overpaid. The beneficiaries don't know this. They don't know that they're being overpaid until they get a letter saying, hey, you owe $10,000 and we're going to take your checks until that's paid back. And it can be really quite a shock. I think there are something like 73,000 overpayments in one of the most recent fiscal years that were due to problems with the Social Security Administration miscalculating. So, it's not always your problem, but in other cases, people forget to accurately tell the Social Security Administration if they've earned more money in a certain year, and that can impact your payments too and lead to overpayments. So, if you do have some kind of change in your own situation, like you're earning more money, which can impact your benefits, you need to tell the administration about that and not let that ride, because you could get one of these letters if you don't let them know.
Why are they doing this now?
So they're doing this now. It's part of the Trump administration's push to, as they frame it, to cut fraud and abuse. These are called overpayments, are called improper payments. And like I said, often, it's not fraud. It's just because of a miscalculation, often because the administration's doing it. But by law, they are required to get that money back. It is taxpayers' money that needs to go back into the system. It needs to go to pay for other people's benefits. So they do have to reclaim it. And but the Trump administration is trying to find ways to get more money. They have a lot of tax cuts that they're trying to fund. And so they're really trying to put an effort in, finding ways to get more money available for the system in different ways, the federal system. So this is, seen as part of that effort.
Okay. Amy Peaky, thank you.
Okay, so what do you guys think about that? I mean, the one thing that I always focus on when you hear these different stories, how the administration feels about a certain policy depending on when they announce it. And we saw this was released late Friday. And the reason why the White House would do this late Friday, or why the administration would do this late Friday, is because they don't want a lot of pushback. They're hoping that they can release this. It's like a Friday dump. They release it, and then by Monday, we've gone on to another topic. And so we're not really talking about this anymore. But this is very important for people receiving Social Security benefits. Now, some of the things, they talked about the 100%. So 100% clawback. Before, and they changed this, the Biden administration changed this to only a 10%. So they can do a 10% clawback. And so let's say you receive $1,000 in your Social Security benefits, they could only claw back $100 per month. Now, they can claw back 100%. And so if you get $1,000 for your Social Security benefits and you owe $5,000, well, they can claw that 100% for the next 5 months until you're all paid up when it comes to the overpayments. Another thing that's interesting is whose fault is it? It's not always your fault. In a lot of cases, it's Social Security. The Social Security Administration, they do the wrong calculations, and you don't know about it. And then the Social Security gets to a point where they figure out, oh, we've been overpaying them, and then they come after you and tell you this is what you owe. And that's why I'm saying you have people that qualified under weapon GPO, the reduction of weapon GPO, now they're going to be receiving these large lump sum payments and monthly increases. Be very, very cautious. Be very cautious. This is good news for you, but be cautious, because if the Social Security makes a mistake, it's on you. Ultimately, it will be on you. So if you take that money and you go and you spend it on something, and they come back a couple years later and say that you owe them money, you're going to have to pay it. And it could be at 100%, which means they can take your whole Social Security check just to pay these overpayments. So be very, very careful. Okay, so here's some of the steps to address the Social Security overpayment notices. So if you receive any type of a notice from the Social Security Administration, take that very seriously. Okay, so if you receive a notice, then at that point, don't just dismiss it and say, oh, it's probably wrong. I'm not even going to. Maybe I'll wait until they send me another couple of letters or so. No, take it very seriously, because they can start taking your Social Security check, your whole check, 100%. Okay, check for errors. The individual verifies the accuracy of the overpayment notice. So check for errors. If you're looking, I've had some people already, when it comes to the Social Security Fairness Act, that have indicated to me, no, this doesn't look like it's right. It's either too much or it's not enough. And so make sure you contact the Social Security Administration and say, hey, is this correct? Because it doesn't look correct. And they will be sending you a letter, or actually 2 letters, I believe. But you might still want to talk to someone because there'll be a record of that as well. So it doesn't look like you just sat by and you received these letters and you didn't do anything, or you received an amount that was probably too good to be true and you didn't follow up on it. If it were me, I would be following up to make sure that everything is correct. Okay, request a waiver. So you can also do this. The individual applies for a waiver if the overpayment was not their fault. So if there was an overpayment and they're saying we're going to claw back on 100%, request a waiver. See if you can have that delayed a little bit so they can look more into it and so you can look more into it. And then you can file an appeal, of course. The individual files an appeal against the SSA's decision. So if they've made a decision and they made this mistake, you can appeal it and see where that goes. At least that will buy you a little bit more time so you can try to figure out your next game plan, because it would be really, really bad if you receive a letter and then 30 days later, they're taking your next Social Security check and you have no money and you rely heavily on Social Security in order to pay all your bills. And now you can't pay your bills. You can't pay your mortgage. You can't pay your rent. So this is, if you are in this situation, these are request a waiver. That's the first thing. And if you think that it's, it wasn't your fault and it's not correct what they're saying, then file an appeal. And then you can negotiate a lower repayment. This is something else. So when it comes down to it, you have the ability to ask them, instead of 100% clawback, can you give me a break here? Can we do 20% clawback or 30% clawback just so I can pay my bills and pay my mortgage and my rent and all that? But all in all, when it comes down to it, it's your responsibility. Unfortunately, that's the way the system works. And so the Social Security Administration can make mistakes, but it's going to be on you. And I talked about this a couple years ago. I was talking about this because it was very, very common to see people owing thousands of dollars, $30,000, $40,000, because the Social Security Administration was sending them extra money and the Social Security Administration didn't catch it for years. And in some cases, it could be 10 years or more. And so I know there's new legislation that they're trying to pass where they're going to put a ceiling on that and say 10 years or more, you're not going to have to pay that back. Another thing that I didn't mention from the beginning, when it comes to these clawbacks, they're going from this point on. So they're not. So let's say 5 years ago they were overpaying you. Well, that doesn't apply to this. This 100% clawback will be for the overpayments that start from March 27th and on. And so that's also important to note that it starts from March 27th. They're not going back and saying, well, we're going to get 100% clawback from stuff that happened last year or the year before. So I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.